Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Jay Jackson, the Transformation Architect. And look, this project has really started to evolve and morph into something bigger than what I ever even imagined or envisioned. And that's really how it all works out. You receive a small glimpse, you receive an idea of what's possible. And then once you start to apply the principles and you start to get up and do the work every single day, you'll begin to see how that one small idea that you had now has evolved and morphed into something bigger and greater than you ever even thought. And that is exactly why we have come together. This particular project is going to be amazing. The experts that are working with me behind the scenes, coordinating phone calls, emails, texts, strategizing, moving all the different, chess pieces on the chessboard. It is looking great, guys. And so I want to say welcome another one of those superstars who has partnered with me on this journey. Guys, it is just amazing how relationships can connect you to someone else who can connect you to someone else. And so this purpose thing, this thing we call purpose, that is your motivator. That is why you should do everything that you do in your life, in your career, in your business. And so I have brought on an expert who's going to talk to you about the importance of having a purpose-driven life, a purpose-driven business. And we're definitely going to talk to you about how you can practically apply some spiritual principles to your life and to your business and help you understand them in a way that is very simple and so that you can take action immediately. So without further ado, please welcome Miss Naomi Mitchell, one half of the Marriage Investors. But I split them up on purpose this time. I split them up intentionally because they have so much to offer as individuals. I know sometimes they get, caught up in, hey, look, we're doing this together. Yep, you're still fighting together. This time I needed y'all separate. So we can fight.
Oh, Jay.
So, thank you, man, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here with you. Excited. I'm on 10.
Good. Yeah, it has been magical. Still a lot of pieces to put in place, but I'm super excited about where everything is right now. You guys are amazing. You're continuing to build and walk in your purpose and put all the different pieces together for what you guys have going on while everyone else is doing the same thing. And then when we come together, it's going to be powerful. It is going to be epic.
Yes. Looking forward.
Absolutely. So real quick, if you don't mind, please just share with the viewers a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your story, where you were, and then how you got to where you are right now. And of course, I know they'll be able to see and hear how purpose is all wrapped up in everything that you do.
Yeah. So thank you again for having me. I'm so excited. From where I was to where I am today, I was thinking about it, and praying about it as we discussed it and prepared for today. I'm actually, this location that I'm sitting in right now, I'm sitting at a baby grand piano, and I'm in the church. You can see behind me some stained glass windows. I'm in the church, and the stained glass windows, I'm in the church of the seminary where actually my husband, Joel Mitchell, attends school and is working on his doctorate. And I come here on a regular basis, weekly, almost daily sometimes, and study because I'm also working on my doctorate. And the reason I wanted to start here, I wanted to be in this location for the interview, is because, growing up, I grew up in the church. The church is, a bedrock of my faith and, who I am as a woman of God. And so learning who I am or who I was through the Black church is where I started my foundation. And so I wanted to be in this location because the church was my life. You know, I served there. I grew up there. I learned, you know, how to be a woman there, how to be a woman of God there in the church. Of course, by my grandmother, my mom, who shared with me their story. And so as I was growing up in the church and developing my relationship with God, I decided, you know, I started feeling like, well, what am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing on earth? And so I started serving in the church and working in the church. And I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a BTU leader. I led the youth group and all of these things, and fell in love with God. And since that, God had a greater calling on my life. And in the church where I served at the time, where I was a member, we saw women doing certain roles, but we never saw women in the pulpit or in leadership positions. They were pretty much, you know, in the background. And I sensed that God was calling me forward to do something more, but I had no vision of what that looked like. And so as I began to pray and continue to use my gifts that God has given me in the church, God continued to impress upon me and was calling me to do what I saw the men doing in the church, was preaching and pastoring. And in this particular church where I was, it was a very conservative church. Love the pastor, love the people, love the church, but they were very conservative, and they taught that women were not called to be in leadership roles, that they were not called to preach, they were not called to pastor, and that they were only relegated to certain positions. But the call that was within me was greater than anything that the elders told me, you know. And so I wrestled with that, you know, half of my young adult life. And because I knew it was something greater. But anyway, I started to follow what God was sharing with me and started asking questions about, what is my purpose? What is my calling? What do you have me to do here on earth? And so since we're talking about purpose, this is where, you know, I really began to, you know, seek God for my purpose. Of course, I was still living my life and going to school and serving, and you know, life was happening. It did not stop as I was trying to figure it out. It all came together congruently as I continued to move forward and live my life. And so anyway, come to find out, I applied for seminary because I wanted to know more about, you know, what this preaching and pastoring call was that God was calling me to. Applied for seminary, and I didn't get in the first time. I actually was denied. And was devastated. And I said, okay, well, I have that wrong. That's not what God wants me to do. So
Right.
I just left it alone, right? I had one no, closed the door, because they were telling me that this wasn't what women did, that that women weren't called to stand in these roles or to operate in these roles. And so I just said, okay. So I ended up continuing my life. Ended up getting married later when I was like 38 years old. You know, went ahead and went to school, undergrad and graduate school, graduated with a degree in food science and nutrition. Started working at Kraft Foods, worked there for 17 years. At age 38, I got married, met my husband, got married, and had my first child twins at 39. And then, I had twins at 39, and then I had my daughter at 41. And so it continued. And right in the middle of having my twins and my son, the Lord, I came home to stay with the children. You know, Joel continued to, you know, continue to work full time. Thank God for a husband who saw the call on me as well and supported me in everything that, you know, that I needed to do. And came home to work with the children. And I thought that was what I was supposed to be doing. I loved being a mother, loved being a wife, and I was okay with being a homemaker and raising our children and taking care of my husband. And another seminary called me. This was the first time I applied for seminary was 1995. The second time this here was like 2009. So all of this time, from the time that I said, okay, well, forget it. That's not my purpose. That's not what I was called to do. I'm going to go and raise my family. And I was good with that. But the call was still drawing me. So like the night before I received the call from the seminary, I had been feeling, like for weeks since seeing this pull to get back into school, and to, the call started calling me even more, drawing me. And so I I said, okay, Lord, if you want me to attend school, I need more money. I need, I have babies. I need, all of these things that concern me. And a phone call came the next day. I had dropped the children off at school, was at home cooking dinner or something. Phone call comes. I missed the call, so I saw the message, and the message says, "Hi, are you still interested in coming to seminary?" And I said, I'm like, seminary? I haven't. This was 1995, right? And so they said, well, this is Garrett Theological Seminary, and if you're interested, we have some openings, some available space. We'd like to invite you to come down and see the campus, and also we have some scholarship money available if you qualify. And I said, oh, okay. Now I just said, these are the things that I need, oh God, And I could not believe that I saved that message forever. Anyway, ended up, long story short, applied for, went down, visited the school, talked with Joel about it. Next thing I know, it was this whirlwind, was in seminary. And now that was my Master's of Divinity in 2009. Here we are, 2018, and I'm working on my doctorate. So I've completed 3 degrees, Master's of Divinity, the Master's of Pastoral Care and Counseling, and now I've also completed my certificate in psychotherapy, and I'm studying for my license as a clinical professional counselor, and then now my doctorate in preaching. Now, I'm saying all of this to say, and I know that was a long story, but I wanted to say when, purposes, when God has a purpose for you, your purposes will never be disappointed. I don't care where you go in life, whatever God has called you to do, the Bible says that your purposes will be established in the earth. And so I prayed about it, and God, He didn't relegate me to just my purpose of being a mother or my purpose for being a wife. But then now my purpose for being a pastor, preacher, teacher, ministering to the world is still being established, And so go ahead. I don't want to. Did you have?
No, you're good. And all I was going to say now, even entrepreneurship, because
right? And so all of that God has brought to bear together. So nothing that I experienced, nothing was ever lost in the years that I waited. But now I'm using my gifts, inside of the church as well as outside of the church. And I'm using it to bring God glory. I'm walking in my purpose, and I'm also able to use it to provide for my family. And so that's been the amazing thing to me. And the reason I wanted to come here, and because I stand amazed at the first time I was turned down, I was told no, that I couldn't, apply to school, and that women weren't called to this work. And here I am from 1995 until 2018. And I'm not only doing the work, but I'm teaching others how to do the work. And I'm serving others through the work that I was once told no. And so I just would encourage people, not to give up. Purpose is what is always instructing your behavior. That's why it's important to have a purpose-driven life and a purpose-driven mission and a purpose-driven work. And then the other thing is that people will have marked out for you what they believe your purpose is. But you have to know what your purpose is. I usually always say that not knowing a purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable. And I used to say that, and I heard Miles Monroe, a great pastor, say the same thing, that not knowing the purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable. And it's true, because you have a purpose and you cannot do or be what someone else thinks that you should be. You have to go with what it is that you've been called to do. Because if you're standing in a place where you're not supposed to be in, then you will be abused. You know, you will be misused and confused. All of those things that will not propel you to where you're supposed to be and where you're supposed to be going. Does that make sense?
No, that makes tons of sense. And I guess for me, the biggest thing that is standing out for me right now is I love the fact that you are making sure that people understand that your purpose can be both in the church and or out of the church. And so it's a way of life. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of being. It's just a way of how you do whatever it is that you do. And
Yeah.
so I'm really happy that you clarify that, hey, there's so many different avenues, and don't allow someone else to dictate what your purpose is in life. And even the part where another part that stuck out to me was the fact that you said that growing up in a very conservative environment and community, the thought process was that women aren't allowed to be in certain leadership positions. And guess what? Not only was that foundation set in the church, but that then carries over into the work sector. Because those
Absolutely.
same women are thinking, I'm not good enough to be a leader. And so now they don't even have the opportunity to position themselves to be successful leaders in their business or even in their career by working for someone else.
Yeah.
It's a weird, psychology behind how these
It
things
really is.
impact.
No, I think that that's a great point. And actually, I struggled even with that, and because I realized that I thought that there were some things that I couldn't do. And even as I worked in corporate for 17 years and excelled in that arena as well, I still had to have positive self-talk, because I did not realize that all of the no's and the I can'ts and the psychology that was that I internalized, how it impacted me going forward. Saying that, well, there's just I would kind of hold back. I would dim my light, because I didn't think that this was what a woman was supposed to be or to do or to say. And like I said, I continue to thank God for my husband, who always allowed me to walk alongside of him, and to, he supported me, and he still supports me. And even if it meant to, he would undergird the mission that God had for me, and so I appreciate that God, that's why we work together so well and alongside one another as partners in ministry and in life and in love, because we do it together, and so he supports me, and it makes me propels me to be successful, because I don't have any, there's nothing holding me back. Like I don't even say the sky is the limit, right? God will give you as far as you can see,
Right.
like exceeding abundantly, and then the other thing is that it's always instructing your behavior, so that you won't get involved with certain things, or go down the wrong path if it doesn't align with your purpose. So that way you'll be able to stay on or in the right path to your destiny and where it is that you're trying to go. And certainly many roads can get you there. Like you're saying, whether it's the work in the church or work outside of the four walls of the church, or in as an entrepreneur, in your business, or wherever you may find yourself, your gifts and your purposes will work there as well. But you have to have the clarity to understand what that is and what that looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah. I tell people all the time that, your ministry, whether again, inside of the four walls or outside of the four walls, your ministry is your ministry. and how you lead your life and how you push your ministry forward. I mean, that you're right. You have to have clarity and understanding of
Mm-hmm.
who you are, what you're capable of, the
Yeah.
size of your faith. Your ministry is only going to get as far or as big as the level of your faith.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Absolutely.
and so at the end of the day, you have to really understand who you are, the power God has given you, and that you need prophets in order for you to push your ministry forward.
Yeah.
Again, whether inside the four walls or outside of the four walls.
Yeah, exactly.
So so what in your experience, from personal experience or even working with some of your clients, what are some of the practical steps, the how-to things that people can do to get that clarity around, who they are, the power they have, and the vision and calling and purpose that God has for their life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is to develop a relationship with God so that you can find out, what is your purpose here? Why were you created? Getting into relationship with your creator, so that you know what your purpose is. And so having a relationship means that you're familiar with God's voice, and that you understand the relationship, and you can hear for yourself. For so long, I did not trust my ability to hear God for myself. Mentors are good and important to have, and having people that you look up to and that speak into your life and that cover you, that you definitely need that. However, you also need the veil of the temple was rent when Jesus died. I'm a Christian, and so I believe that Jesus Christ died and gave us free access to God. And so we don't need a mediator. There's
Right.
between God and man, and that's Jesus. But I can go to him for myself,
Right.
So it was important for me to be able to hear that for myself, and then to trust that I could hear that. And so having a relationship with God that's functional, and that's clear, provides clear access so that you can hear from God what it is that God has called and created you to do. So that would be the first tip that I would have. The second tip is, God has given each of us gifts. Some of us have one, some of us have more than one. And God placed that on the inside of us the moment we invited God into our hearts and into our life. And that gift that God has for us will make room for us in the earth. It will, as you said to me, that the gift will make room for you, which means that your gift, as long as you're operating in your gift, you can use that in any given arena.
Right.
And so that's important as well, so that you understand what your gift is. But you don't always know what your gift is, so you have to get busy just working. Begin working. Don't wait and sit still like I'm waiting for this, grand answer to come. But that you get busy working, and then God will reveal as you go what it is that, the closer you get to your destiny, but it can be used in so many arenas and to be a blessing as you go, And then the other thing I would say is your purposes will be perfected as you move in obedience. There are places that you never thought you would go. There are roads that have never been carved out. There are places where no one else has gone or even dared to go, where God will call you to go. And it may not have ever been done before, but maybe you're the one that's supposed to do it. And so I would say, take heart and have courage, be obedient, and move forward in faith. That, like I said, that there is no limit to where you can go and what you can do when you're purpose driven. And that goes for your business, where your business can go. Joel and I have both been called to pastor. And originally we were thinking that we were going to pastor like a local church, and that's what we had seen. But God was encouraging us to get off of the block Joel tells this story about this young man when they were young. He was the first person on the block to get a car, and he brand new car. And the only thing this guy would do, because everybody would just kind of hang on the block all the time, and he was the first one with the car. Well, the only thing he would see this guy doing is riding around the block in the car. All he ever did was ride around the block. Now, he was in the car. He was the only one who had the car. He could go any place in the city, any place he wanted to go, because now he had transportation, opportunity, and the only thing he did was ride around the block, waving at the people on the block. And so, what we have to do is get off the block. We have means, we have opportunity. There's so much world out there that we need to go and see what others are doing. What is really being done, what's possible. And so I'm working now, while it is yet day, because tomorrow is not promised. So I'm living every day as if it's my last. We get 86,400 seconds a day. Everybody gets the same amount. And what you do with that is vitally important. Time is our most precious commodity. And so what will we do with the time that we have here on earth, and how will we walk in our purpose? That means in our business, with our families, in our homes, in our marriages. How are we investing that time, and how are we investing our gifts toward that end?